told me, her name is Thelma, that he was a smart fellow. That's how she described it. By the time he was 4, he could say his ABCs backward and forward. And his oldest brother was 17 years older than him. He was his mother's first child, and he was his father's 7th child. So everybody, they had so much influence on him, his older siblings, that he called his mother Miss Roxy just like they did. He didn't call her mama, he called her Miss Roxy. But I think that growing up with them challenged him from the time he started walking to learn and to be like them and to be the best, and that was always instilled in us. My grandmother had a saying, if a task is once begun, never leave it until it is done. Be the labor, great or small, do it well or not at all. And she said that to us repeatedly, over and over and over and over again, until I will never forget it. And they were very religious people. And my grandmother had another saying. She would say, the Lord lets the sun shine on everybody. And that's important because I think that God is fair and He's equitable. Well, to my knowledge, my uncle first learned about the University of Mississippi when he was a teenager. My grandfather had sugar diabetes, and a new doctor set up in Kosciuszko, and he had a degree from the University of Mississippi. So, from my understanding, my uncle wanted to go to the University of Mississippi before he realized that he couldn't go, because he just admired that degree on the doctor's ball. And I think that his first experience with racism was going to Detroit and coming back home on the train and being asked to go to the colored owner's car. I think he was about, 15. Because in Kosciuszko, the theater was segregated, but that was different from being humiliated and then called the N-word. But because in Kosciuszko, even I can remember as a child sitting on the balcony and whites sitting down below. Even then, that didn't bother me as a child because I didn't really understand why we had to sit at the balcony because I was so young. Well, this is a paragraph about Reverend George Lee. And this came from Ebony magazine. Reverend George T. Lee, 51, was killed gangly fashion by a shotgun blast fired through the open window of his car by the occupants of another car carrying 2 white men and a Negro. Called the most militant Negro minister in Mississippi, Reverend Lee was number 1 on the Citizen Council ballot list of 8, was one of the original 92 10-head withdrawn Negroes who were determined to vote in the August primary. And last week I was on my way to Greenville, and I passed by a museum that honors Reverend George Lee. And he was very important to me as a person in my uncle's generation because he was before his time like my uncle. He had a vision that they were going to register so many black people in Humphreys County that they were going to get some people elected. And even though they kept telling him to stop registering voters, he refused to stop. And also, he was in the NAACP, and Medgar Evers got on the hit list as well, and I think he was age 30 from associating with them. And he's also one of the most significant persons in terms of changing race relations in our state. And he worked with them as well. And then his peers, even after when he was assassinated, killed, there were so many people that came to his funeral that they had to have it outside because they just couldn't fit all of the people in the church. And two things happened after that. There were some who continued to work to improve our situation in the state, and there were others who just left the state because they feared the white power structure and everything that was going on. And of course, this is 1955, and the year prior to that, Medgar Evers tried to go to the University of Mississippi, but he didn't show up for registration. And Clinton King, he did show up for registration. And when he went to try to register on this, they actually called Governor Coleman and said, we have a Negro here that's registered. What should we do with him? They didn't know what to do with him. So he told them to take him to Oxford and have him arrested and then bring him to Jackson for a lunacy hearing. And of course, his lawyer, they wouldn't even let his lawyer represent him. And his lawyer asked him one thing, why do you think this man is crazy? Because he wants to go to the University of Mississippi. But those kinds of labels stuck, and they still stick, you know. And the other thing about Margaret going to University of Mississippi, I meet people who don't realize that the day that he graduated, he too was on the Klan's hit list, and the government told him, of course they had stayed with him on campus when he had to go get a haircut and work with him. They told him that they couldn't protect him anymore. And Miss Fanny Alice, she told me that she was in one of the cars that came to his graduation, and she told me that the marshals escorted them to the state line, and she would call them, saying to them, "You're on your own now." She said, yes. They told us we were on our own. Miss Fanny Alice stayed 2 houses from my grandparents on Allen Street in Kosciuszko. Well, after my uncle left, they went to Memphis, of course, and then not long after that, he moved to Nigeria and obtained a master's degree in economics. And then he came back and enrolled in law school, in Columbia Law School in New York. And while he was a student in law school, he came back home to his home state and started a walk against fear. My cousin's husband, who lived in Memphis, told me that he drove my uncle to the Mississippi-Tennessee state line, and when he got to the line, he recalls that there were about 16 men only that lived in the Memphis area that started walking up 51 with my uncle toward into Mississippi for a few miles. And at that time, my uncle said that he wanted to encourage black men to set aside their fear of the white power machinery of walking the highways and byways. He also wanted to register voters. Well, they were all